Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good, everybody? That's right. We are here, and this is a semi-delayed edition of the Boxing Source podcast. We wanted to get in, what was happening from yesterday and what was going on during the week. A lot of stuff that was going on during the week that we want to go ahead and cover. We want to go ahead and talk about and also, react to what was going down with the press conferences for Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Plus, you had, of course, a whole deal with Canelo Alvarez. It's still going on. It's still a saga. It's still got things happening with that. And also, if we get on, anything with Terence Crawford, then we will get to that as well. But big ups for everybody that's joining live in this particular Boxing Source podcast episode. And let's talk boxing. Of course, we had the Saturday night card for Top Rank that was on ESPN Plus, and that had two world title fights on there. But of course, the main topic of discussion was the main event there for the WBA featherweight title, vacant featherweight title, as Otabek Kholmatov and Raymond Ford went up against each other. Both of those guys came into that fight undefeated. Kholmatov at 12-0, Raymond Ford at 14 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw. And, it was a good scrap between these two fighters as, Kholmatov, at least for me, in the early parts of the fight, he was controlling the pace of the fight and being very effective with his offense. And, even though you've seen Raymond Ford on multiple occasions going forward, moving forward, when it came to, throwing punches while he was coming forward, he wasn't really, doing enough, at least for me, for where he would be able to get the majority of those early rounds, because I was like looking for him to, kind of like be the faster fighter and be the more active fighter there against Kholmatov. But Kholmatov, was a very, very, skilled fighter. It looked like they're, in this bout. And it almost seemed like, there were times where it looked like he was in a different class than Raymond Ford was. He was, throwing 3 or 4 punches at a time to Ford's one, particularly early in the bout. It was just that, it wasn't enough to like really put a serious hurting on Ford there to kind of like have it be hugely in Kholmatov's favor. So, my thing was, if Ford could do something in order to, either stun Kholmatov or whatever it is, and, see how he would be able to do that, it would be, back in Ford's favor. But, I didn't really see that until, mainly the second half of the fight. Big ups for Tip Bayless in the building here. He says, "Hey, I heard the face of boxing card looking crazy." Hey, I've heard that too. I've heard that too. Hopefully, get more, on that here, once we go forward. But I'm gonna hit the invite button there. I'm gonna try to get another guest on here with me to see if they're able to jump in and see what's going on. But yeah, back to this thing with Kholmatov and Ford, man. I mean, at least for me, I felt like the majority of the rounds were like in favor of Kholmatov. Because I've seen Kholmatov like pretty much landing a lot of shots in those first 3 rounds and in the 4th round until pretty much like that last part of the 4th round. So I pretty much had Kholmatov with a comfortable lead there within 4 rounds, probably like 3 rounds to 1, if anything. And then like in the 5th, you seen Ford get a little bit more activity in there, but it was to me like Kholmatov was still controlling it. It was still controlling it, and things didn't really like change up or shift around until the 7th round, where I saw good action from both fighters. They were in the inside and working on the inside, throwing body shots, going upstairs, mixing it up. And overall, I felt like that was like the part where things could have been a little bit more in the favor of Ford. But thing about it is that I still felt like it was more Kholmatov being the more active fighter. And while Ford, I think like around the 9th round and the 10th round, he started to catch Kholmatov a couple of good shots that either put Kholmatov off balance or stunned him, to a certain extent. But for me, it wasn't to the point where, like I said, Kholmatov had like a comfortable lead. At least I felt like he had a comfortable lead there going into the 10th and the 11th rounds. And then you had the 12th round. And then the 12th round, both fighters were active. Kholmatov and Ford were active and going at it. And then Ford ended up catching Kholmatov with a good shot that had Kholmatov backing up. And for Ford, in Ford's case, man, he was able to make all of those punches count in the last minute of that round. And he was having, Kholmatov backed up, went to the ropes, and at first you see where Ford was coming forward, and he ended up tying up Kholmatov, and Kholmatov was like on shaky legs. So what ended up happening was when they had that clinch, Kholmatov had like weak legs, and that momentum just ended up having him go down to the canvas. So it didn't end up being a knockdown for that. But the thing about it is that you still had the momentum there for Ford to try to take advantage or at least try to score a knockdown. So while he was still landing big shots and stunning Kholmatov, and Kholmatov was stumbling around the ring, stumbling towards the rope, and then all of a sudden, Kholmatov turns around and turns his back while going backwards. And when he did that, you seen the referee react to it, and Ford threw like another punch, and the referee steps in. Charlie Fitch steps in and stops the fight with 7 seconds left in the fight. 7 seconds left in the fight, and Raymond Ford gets the victory by stoppage to win the WBA featherweight title. That was a wild scene to see that happening. And the thing about it was that, hey, if y'all seen the scorecards, 2 of them had it in Kholmatov's favor as 2 scores of 106 to 103 going into the 12th round. So he would have had this fight in the bag, basically, whether it was going to be a split or whether it was going to be a majority, because one of the judges had it 105, 104 in favor of Raymond Ford. And if Kholmatov had won the 12th round, it would have been a majority decision win in favor of Kholmatov. But for Raymond Ford to get this thing here and have the TKO victory, that was just crazy. It was crazy for him to get that and end up getting the win. So now he's the one that's still undefeated. Now at 15-0-1, WBA featherweight champion. And for Kholmatov, this was a tough break for him, because this was, like I said, I had him winning the majority of the fight, for pretty much at least like the first 8 rounds or so. He had a good, comfortable lead in that one. It wasn't until, after the 8th round where, you probably had like Ford still, get himself back into it. It was just the punches, those power punches from Raymond Ford, they were pretty much getting the best of Kholmatov there late in the fight. And that's how that ended up being a Ford, or ended up being a Ford victory. You know what I'm saying? I felt like that was like one of the crazier finishes that I've seen in boxing in a while. If y'all like boxing fans, y'all could go ahead and check that highlight. I think it's on Top Rank Boxing's YouTube page. It probably has like over 150,000 views already, or something like that. So, you, hey, like I said, I'm still, surprised of how that thing turned out. Big ups for Raymond Ford, for him getting that win. He, has had some good fights over the course of his pro career. Having fights against Jesse Magdaleno, Sakaria Lucas, Richard Medina, and Edward Vasquez. Those previous 4 fights before this one, and with those 4 fighters, man, I don't know that combined record. All I know is from those 4 fighters, all 4, 2 losses from those 4 fighters total. That's it, you know. And for Ford to like kind of go through that particular schedule, and then like have it culminate with this win, to be a world champion now at featherweight. That's real good in his part. So, props to Raymond Ford for getting that win. He's able to be a world champion, and now we got to see what's going to be up with him in the featherweight division or not, as we had some news as to him, hey, probably not being in the featherweight division for much longer. As they said, that it was reported that he would be moving up to super featherweight after just getting a vacant WBA featherweight title. That's crazy. Yeah, you can say he's a world champion, but if he ends up moving the weight to 130 pounds, that's going to be crazy that he won't even be able to defend that world title that he just won. That would be something, you know. And I feel like the featherweight division is kind of like wide open right now. I mean, like I said, you got Ray Ford that just won the belt. You got Rafael Espinoza that won the WBO title for BC Ramirez, and you got Luis Lopez Vargas, who's the IBF champion, that had the title defense against Rabe in the co-feature bout over there in Verona, New York. And Luis Lopez, he has like a crazy style and everything like that. So it kind of like made things look a little bit rough to watch, so to speak. But he put a beating on Rhea Abe, man. That one was that was a bad look there, man. What is it? Yeah, man. He said he had a good career. We all know Shock won 130. Hey, man. Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm working on trying to get in contact with Shock's manager so I can get an interview with Shock, because that the whole thing from what has it been the past couple of weeks, ever since O'Shaquie Foster's win that he had at the theater at Madison Square Garden, that he's trying to make or get a fight done with Lamont Rose Jr. I don't know what the updates on that is, but I would love to see that particular fight, and I would love to see if I'd be able to get O'Shaquie Foster on to speak here on the Boxing Source. So I'll be on the lookout for that, man. But yeah, O'Shaquie Foster, WBC champion at 130, had his decision win over Abraham over at the theater at Madison Square Garden, a couple weeks back. I was able to be out there for that one. And yeah, he's a very good fighter. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, him and Roach in DC will be fighting. Yeah, for sure. Whether it's DC or over by Texas or whatever it is, we'll see. Hey, shout out to Juice here in the live chat, man. What's going on with your Juice? Yeah, but the thing is, I'd like to see, for in Raymond Ford's case, I would like to see if he'd be able to stay there at 126 and have one or two defenses of that featherweight title because, given the fight card, how this was yesterday at Verona, you had those two world title matchups, there at featherweight, where you had the possibility of, those two winners facing each other. They, like I said, you have Rafael Espinoza, who's there, who defeated Roberto Ramirez. Now, if they don't have a rematch, then you could see Rafael Espinoza in a unification with one of those two guys. So that thing I was looking for. You have Ray Vargas going up against Nick Ball. That's supposed to be on Friday, right? Like I think that's supposed to be on Friday. So that would kind of like shape what's going on at the top of the featherweight division right now. You have it's gonna be 3 world title fights within a week. 3 world title fights within a week for the featherweight division. So that's something that it's fight fans you would like to look forward to because you want to have these guys fighting each other, guys at the top of the division fighting each other and then fighting the top contenders that are there within their division. And if they have the chance to unify, they're able to go ahead and unify. You know what I'm saying? So they're able to do that, at least with the featherweight division this year. That would be really good. That would be really good. But like I was saying there with the IBF title, right? Luis Alberto Lopez, just beat up Rhea Abe for that TKO victory. Like, of course, he is known for sending Mick Collins straight to hell. He sent Collins straight to hell. He was able to get that decision win over Josh Warrington to win the IBF featherweight title. So this was his 3rd defense of that belt, and he was able to honor that mandatory challenge there against Riyab. And yeah, that one wasn't even it wasn't even much of a fight. Abe was just off from the get go in that. Man, to be honest, I don't know like how he was able to get up there. I guess it was because he had that win against Kiko Martinez last year. He was able to beat Kiko by unanimous decision. That's probably how he was able to be the top contender there for the IBF belt. But yeah, he got beat down by Luis Alberto Lopez, and like I said, it wasn't good stylistically, but it's going to be something to see. Shout out to Android in the building. Thanks for the super chat, man. Thanks for putting color in the chat here. It's going to be hard to top last night's fight as fight of the year. I mean, hey, some people felt like it was a very, very good fight there to headline at the Turner Resort and Casino with Raymond Ford and Otabek Kholmatov. Like I was saying, man, at least for me, I thought that Kholmatov was doing well those first few rounds, particularly the first 4 rounds. I didn't really see Raymond Ford kind of like get things going until about after halfway through round 4. Halfway through round 4, he was able to get started and throw punches. But I just felt like Kholmatov was doing a little bit better as far as like fighting off the back foot at the very least. And then coming into like round 7 and round 8, there was a moment where Kholmatov was going forward, and when he was going forward, he was being a little bit more effective in what he was doing as the effective aggressor than what Ford was doing early in the fight. And then I think about after halfway through that round, Kholmatov kind of went back in the back foot, fighting from a defensive stance, fighting off a counter punch type of thing, and was a little bit successful. But he did have some lapses in defense, particularly after round 8. And once he got hit with a couple of punches that stunned him, that's when things got back into Raymond Ford's favor. So you know what I mean? We're gonna see, and that's how we that's how we got the end that we got. That thing kind of shocked me how it was able to be finished. Some folks say that it was a controversial finish, that the referee there um, that made that decision in Charlie Fitch was could have like held off and could have like waited until the end to the end of the fight, for it to go to the scorecards. But yeah, when you see, sometimes when you see a fighter in trouble and they don't look good, and at the time you kind of like react to the moment that you're seeing right there. You're not really, thinking about how much time is left in the fight until you really hear that bell ring to signal the end of the round. So he was looking at what's going on with Kholmatov, all while it was around 11, 10 seconds left in the fight. So he's like seeing one, especially after what happened when they both stumbled and he went down to the canvas, that he sees that Kholmatov is there in trouble. So then it's like, how is he going to react in these, next few seconds? And he was still stumbling, moving around, really gingerly or whatever it is. Speaking of gingerly, and that was a note after the fight. And with that being said, he ended up stopping the fight. So that's how that is. Chip Bailey says Fight of the Year is on March 30th, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Don't miss it. We all know what that's all about. We got, a few weeks until we got 4 weeks until that bout takes place. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that Raymond Ford, Otabek Kholmatov fight, very good fight between those two guys. And props to Raymond Ford on that. My thing is, I want to follow on, some of the things that were, kind of like reported in reference to Raymond Ford. I was saying that he looked like he wanted to move up to 130 pounds. And, I'm kind of like, a little bit bummed about that, because you like I said, you want to see about, you want to see him kind of defend, that title. You know what I mean? So I rather have him at least defend the title a couple of times and whatnot. So we'll see. A Juice says, "Hey, I'm hearing we're supposed to get an advertising schedule announcement soon. I wonder if it has something to do with this as well. That could be something. Yeah. The thing there with Raymond Ford, man. I'd really like to see what goes on with them. And see what's next. I rather have him get some type of title defenses in there if they could fit it in there. Maybe you could see Angelo Leo get a title shot. I don't know. Raymond Ford now has it where he could have a voluntary defense. I think. I don't know if the WBA has the similar rules as like the WBC when it comes to vacant titles that'll win. But you got Angelo Leo that's ranked in there. You got Stephen Fulton that's ranked in there. You got a few other fighters, that are there within the WBA rankings that Raymond Ford can have a title defense against if it's not going to be a unification. But just to be able to have a featherweight title and just to give it up and then try to move up to 130, that would be something. But hey, if it does move up to 130 as a WBA champion, he could likely be the top contender up there at 130, and that could lead to maybe an appetizing fight between Raymond Ford and Lamont Roach Jr. How about that? Like, remember, Lamont Roach is a free agent. He's not, really signed to, any promotional banner or whatever it is. That's why I mentioned the whole thing with Lamont Roach Jr. and Oshaki Foster being a potential fight that could be unification at 130 because Lamont Roach Jr. can move in where he wants to. But if that doesn't fall through, then hey, we got him, Lamont Roach Jr. there potentially against Raymond Ford. That would be something. That would be a good fight. That would be a really good fight. I think you had Westbrook would also be very happy that Raymond Ford won this bout. What was it? Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn was there in attendance for this because that's his guy Raymond Ford. He signed him pretty much from the jump. So you seen Raymond Ford like have test after test after test there in his pro career that's built him up to this point to where he's able to fight for and win a world title. So big props for Raymond Ford for getting that in. And the way that he did, that was just something I think that's going to be one of the moments of the year. Android was saying it's a potential fight of the year candidate. So we have to see what happens later on down the line, but you had that. You had, of course, what happened with Luis Alberto Lopez and Ria Abe. That was just demolishing. And then you had the first bout in that 10 o'clock or window, whatever it is. Brian Norman Jr. versus Janelson Boca Chica. And Brian Norman, is there what was he defending international champion at welterweight? So he has like a top 10 ranking in the WBO at welterweight. He kind of like had a pretty disappointing performance in his last fight. Where he went up against Quentin Randall and he just looked out of sorts a bit. He just didn't look, very polished in that. He was still able to get a unanimous decision win on that, but he just didn't really look polished. And so we wanted to see what he was going to be able to do against Janelson Boca Chica, who had lost a couple of times his last two fights against Roman Villa and Alberto Formella. But he's still somebody that could crack a little bit, and we've seen that in those first couple of rounds against Brian Norman Jr., especially near the end of the first round, where Brian Norman Jr. pretty much like slept on it and leaned forward and got hit with a right hand and put him down to the canvas, man. Shout out Thomas Hill in the building. What's going on, Thomas Hill? We hear, talking boxing and everything, man. I just went through the top two fights there that were on the top ranked card. And, now you had this whole thing with Raymond Ford and, not Raymond Ford, but Brian Norman Jr. and Janelson Boca Chica. And Boca Chica was able to catch Brian Norman in that first round and, put him down to the canvas, but you already had like Boca Chica cut early in that, and then he was able to score that knockdown. So it was pretty much going to be a round for Brian Norman Jr. until that knockdown. So that kind of like flipped it. And then in the second round, you seen, what was it, like Brian Norman cut with a punch/elbow, punch/elbow, you know what I'm saying? And that put a cut on Brian Norman Jr. And then after that, it was the one that kind of like put this thing on ice, was a head clash that caused a cut at the top of Boca Chica's head that was really bad and it was gruesome. And so by the time it went through 3 rounds, it went to the end of the third. There was moments where that cut was, bad, very bad, and then there were times when it didn't be like blood didn't really go, flow down that much. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, it almost looked like they made a little decision of sorts for Boca Chica not to continue and not go forward in the fourth round, because if it went through four completed rounds, then you would have had a technical decision on it. But since it didn't even get to that point, it ended up being a no contest. So that fight, Brian Norman and Jenelson Boca Chica, was a no contest. It almost seemed like it was not really what I say visually pleasing within between those two. So I don't know if they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna revisit that fight. I don't think so. I think Brian Norman Jr. is gonna be moving forward. With his career, I don't know if they're gonna have him with trying to have him win another in a step up fight of sorts. Guys that are ranked below him in the WBO, I don't think that they'll try to match him up with one of those guys, but they'll probably find somebody that could be there for Brian Norman Jr. to face. But as of right now, they wanna they wanna try to get him off what's going on. Yeah, he said. I mean, hey, it was looking like Boca Chica was landing some good shots, not just with the knockdown shot, but with other shots in there. And it was just the way that those styles kind of clashed, so to speak, that led to the headbutt or whatever it is. But you also had Tim Bradley, talking about Jenelson Boca Chica should be penalized for that elbow they threw there to cause the cut on Brian Norman Jr. So I don't know, man. Like I said, with the styles just being the way that it was there for that particular fight, I don't think that they're going to match those two up. Therefore, try to revisit that fight. So I ain't seeing that. Nah. Also that was on ESPN Plus. A couple things kind of stood out for me. You had what was it? Trisley being able to get a stoppage win over Marcos Hernandez. Through 7 rounds, he looked great in those 7 rounds. A lot of the stuff that he was doing was pretty much top notch, and it was kind of like funny because during that fight, or while that fight was taking place, you had Tim Bradley, out there by the corner of Troy Isley, and he was speaking with one of Troy Isley's trainers there. Of course, y'all know him, Brian Bomac McIntyre. And Bomac be a character, man. I'm telling you, he be really funny up there. But he does, kind of emphasize that, with the camp, it's not just him. It's Esau, Dieguez, it's Red Spikes. Some of y'all know about Barry Boxer. Multiple guys within that camp that make sure that their fighters are at the best of their abilities once they get to their particular fights. And here with Troy Isley, you've seen him have a great performance here against Marcos Hernandez. Was a lot better than his fight against Vladimir Hernandez, who's a very, very tough fighter in Vladimir Hernandez. He's very tough to listen to. Yeah, he is. He's kind of a little out there with a few things there, but it's funny because sometimes he's like very animated when it comes to being on the camera there for ESPN. But when all of that's said and done, and if you're able to talk to him, sometimes he'll be very descriptive in a lot of topics. When it comes to different topics in the sport of boxing. You also have him, have some segments there on Pro Box TV too. So it's almost like, I wouldn't necessarily say naive with Tim Bradley, but you kind of see a difference in how he feels about certain things when he's on camera for ESPN and then when he's not, you know. But his time there with Bomac, while Troy Isley was fighting, you heard Bomac be like, "Ooh, look at that, look at that! Like, come get him, yeah, the body, yeah." And it was like kind of funny there, man. And Bomac, like I said, with him, that's why, I pretty much felt like Bomac was the trainer of the year last year, not just with his work with Terence Crawford or, Chris Eubank Jr. or whatever it is. But the way that he's able to, teach his fighters and how they're able to, showcase all of their abilities in the ring. You have like what was it, Keyshawn Davis as well. That's part of the camp there with Brian Bomac McIntyre. The thing with last year though, of course, like for some portion of last year, he wasn't able to be out there because of the whole ordeal with what happened in the UK. But still, he's one of the guys that you gotta say is one of the best trainers out there. One of the best trainers out there. And I know that he emphasizes his camp, but you gotta be able to give him credit, especially when he's been, year after year after year trying to get that credit. Now, after what happened last year, it's like, okay, he is next. But here's the thing though. How is he gonna be able to carry that momentum in through this year? Because we've had these moments, with trainers where they have a good run one year, and then after that, they kind of fall off. Derek James last year, Eddie Reynoso the year before that. He had run with Canelo with Andy Ruiz Jr., whatever it is, or Oscar Valdez, those fighters. And then the next year, you've seen Oscar Valdez lose. You've seen Canelo lose. You've seen the stuff. I guess they were Andy Ruiz. So, and then last year, Derek James. Yeah, he had this whole little thing there with Errol Spence and whatnot. He had the whole thing with Jamel Charlo. He also, had some things there with Anthony Joshua, and now Ryan Garcia. We got to see, Thomas Hill, man, in the building. He says he often lets his emotions and pictures go to corporations, and then mar his words and school his biases in his commentary. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big thing there with Bomac. Yeah, he's been on fire this year. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing there with Bomac. How is he going to be able to build off the momentum of, being, like I said, the 2023 Boxing Source Trainer of the Year, and those fighters have the performances that he had. And I think, for me, what stood out last year was not just the thing there with Terence Crawford against Errol Spence Jr. It was the performance from Chris Eubank Jr., when he had the rematch against Chris Eubank, of course, got caught, with big shots in the last fight against Liam Smith, ended up getting stopped, and then turned right around, had a great performance there, and just beat up Liam Smith to get a TKO victory there last September. So, I felt like with that kind of like made Bomac be the guy as a trainer for 2023. So there was that. But that was, mainly the whole thing with the card from the Turner Show Resort Casino. You also had Nico Oliveira in action. He was coming off of his, first loss of his career last year. So he was able to defeat Stanford by unanimous decision. You also had Bryce Mills get a unanimous decision win over Godfrey Gaio. You all had Bryce Mills on here on the YouTube channel. Had the extensive interview with Bryce Mills before his fight. So no, he's really proud for that particular win. He had two scores of 60-54 and one score of 58-56 in his favor for that. Uh, just to be honest, I think it was more so 58-56, 60 to 54. It says Derrick James counted himself very well in the losses his fighter suffered. I thought his advancement was spot on, but either his fighter was unable to perform it or refused to. Good analysis. Good analysis. There with Spence, we just seen Spence like have the worst showing of his career, while Terence Crawford had the best, performance of his career, and Charlo was just not engaged. He was just not engaged. Is Bryce Mills look solid? He's still chilling. Yeah, let's see about get him give him the message, man. He did we did well with most of the rounds. I think early he was trying to just trying to get the timing of Gaio down. But Gaio was very active in those first few rounds, throwing good combinations. There, it was just with Bryce Mills, he just stayed patient, didn't let the moment get too big for him there, and not really be too overanxious on what Gaio was doing. But I thought that was probably one of the better fights of the night, actually, between those two. Mainly because, like I said, you had Bryce Mills, they're from, Liverpool, New York, outside of Syracuse, and you had Gaio, who, resides over in Buffalo. So you had a good, New York versus New York type of thing going down there at the turning zone. And that's why, they had mainly moved that fight on the card to like the second before the last card, or before the fight that was going down before the 10 o'clock series of fights. So that one was a good little fight though there between those two guys. You know what I'm saying? So that was a good little showing there for Bryce Mills. We got to see what's out there, what's next for him. I'm gonna see if I can get him back on to speak with him to follow up with that particular win and see what his thoughts are, on that win. Now with that being done, I wanted to get on what happened over in Puerto Rico. Man, oh man, yo, man, that was just crazy, San Juan, Puerto Rico. You had a big event basically there in Puerto Rico that was supposed to have their representation, great representation of Puerto Rico, Amanda Serrano, that was supposed to be in a fight there to defend belts and whatnot. And it was a crazy situation. Crazy situation there, because I wasn't even like even before, of course, the days leading into the fight, I wasn't like following what was happening there with Amanda Serrano, right? And it was just something, because you kind of seen things kind of look fairly weird in a sense, because I was looking at both fight cards. I was looking at both fight cards, right? Yeah, they did tip. They did. But the thing about it is, why do you think that they're issuing refunds? 100% refunds. Why do you think that they're issuing those refunds? Because they did. How is it that we went into this fight card, well, it was shown live on the zone, and people didn't know about this until a couple of hours before the fight was supposed to take place? Most valuable promotions have released that statement a couple of hours before Amanda Serrano was supposed to be in the ring there against Nina Menke. That was crazy. And yeah, all of all parties probably knew about this. So the thing about it is like they're saying, hey, okay, they try to see if they could get this thing resolved and go into the day of the fight and see if it was, um good enough for her to perform. Yeah, I don't know about all that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. That was a good question there, Thomas Hill. When we spoke with Bryce Mills live, just the adjustments and focus on boxing. Yeah, just moving around. He had those times where he was moving around pretty well with his feet, and shifting over. I just got to see him, throw jabs a little bit more, especially what trying to set up his right hands because you seen in the times early in the fight there against Gallo, he was just throwing, just right hands. He wasn't setting it up with the jab. He was throwing right hands, and he wasn't, that successful by just throwing those right hands. So, I got to see how he's going to be able to learn from this particular fight and how he like moves forward into going into his next fight. I think they're going to, build off of this momentum and try to get his crowd to, go to more of his fights, whether it's going to be at the Turning Stone Resort or if they have another fight card at the theater in Madison Square Garden that may fit him in for that. Because you could have a good amount of guys in there, man. You could have, Bryce Mills on. You could have, Bruce Carrington on. You could have like Tiger Johnson on there. Few other young fighters that could be on the card there at the theater at Madison Square Garden. I don't know, man. I might have to call them ready to call. Let's see if they can set up another fight card there. But I mean, we still have to see what's going to be up for Freaking Day weekend. Top Rank usually has something for that. That's usually the same weekend as the Pro Boxing Hall of Fame weekend. So either they can have a fight card that'll be back there at Verona on that Saturday, or they'll have something over at the Madison Square Garden, whether it's at the theater or it'll be at the main venue. So we'll have to see. So June of this year, be sure to like be on the lookout for fight cards either at Turning Stone, as they usually have one every year for Hall of Fame weekend, or over at Madison Square Garden. So be sure to look out for that. But yeah, back to the whole joint there with the zone card, man. Like, I don't know about y'all, but that card, I was like looking back and forth between this and the Top Rank card and some of these fights here. I was like, ooh, just being real. I was like, oh, this ain't good matchmaking. Ain't matchmaking. Don't really feel like it was like any type of high level type of stuff going on, but it wasn't really good matchmaking. The one fight that they were trying to bank on was the Bomba Gonzalez Renee Santiago fight. That was the one where they felt like, hey, we might get a good little action fight between these two fighters there in the light flyweight division, and that ended up being a bad looking fight. Bad looking fight. So yeah, that whole entire card there, yeah, that just wasn't all too high. It wasn't all too high. And folks are still reacting to what I was talking about with most valuable promotion, saying yeah, about Amanda Serrano. There was a little bit of a situation there where she had a issue with some substance that got in her eye after she had got her hair done. I'm like, what? That nah. nah, you know, that's just a bad situation. You know, that should just be a bad situation. So yeah, that was that, man. Um, and then like I said, that release, man, it's like it was just crazy how they released how they had that release, that press release for Amanda Serrano being scratched from that fight against Dina Menke. You know, no, she isn't. She isn't. She isn't. Even though she was like out there, she was out there, after the event, explaining the situation. So let's see if they're gonna have her back on. Um, I have to hold on. I'm gonna go back to the thing there with the post fight presser, because they said that what was this thing? Who was this? Nakisa Badarian, that was there for what MVP said that the gate that they had a huge gate there for that particular event yesterday. 1.5 million. And they say that they're going to refund the tickets for that because of what happened. You know, yeah, yeah. So that's the thing about it. Hold on, I missed one joint here from Thomas Hill. What do you say? Do you think Spence should get motor sensory test regarding his last couple of fights? I think he needs to go to an ethical neurologist to clear him to fight again. He looks like his balance is shot. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. These had, a good number of folks have talked about that you should go to a neurologist or have this checked or have that checked. And I mean, I don't know. Like, the thing about it is that with Errol Spence, a lot of the stuff with Errol Spence is kind of been under wraps as far as I know. Like the whole thing with that recent eye surgery, that one kind of like came out of nowhere. So we have to see. But the thing with the neurologist, as far as like how he was reacting to the punches that were landed on him against with Terence Crawford. Yeah, that was like kind of different, because at least for me, that first knockdown that happened in the second round, yeah, I didn't think he should have been down from that particular one. But there were like a couple of other ones. Yeah, he just looked like his whole balance was off and everything like that. But as far as like him, considering getting back in there, we have to see. Even right after that fight that he had with Terence Crawford, he was saying, "Hey man, you want to run it back? Want to run it back? I want to run it back." And well, at least as right now, that's not happening. And because of that, we have the situation there with Terence Crawford, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But with that being said, we have to see what's up with Errol Spence, because the thing about it is, here we are. It's been what? Here we are in March. It's been 8 months. It's been 8 months since that fight. And we still have Errol Spence Jr. at the very least ranked in multiple sanctioning bodies. They haven't moved them off. They have not moved them off. So with that being said, that leaves open the possibility that he can return to the ring. Now, would it be against Terence Crawford? Nah, that highly doubt that. But if he does get back in the ring, we have to see, like, is he going to be at a condition where he be able to properly perform, at an optimal level? Because he's at the point where, being a former unified champion, he's going to have to be in fights that are high level. And given the draw that he was able to build over the course of his pro career, he's going to have to be at a high level fight at the very least. So if he does return, like, just start thinking about who he potentially could face. I don't know, but he'll yeah, I think they were L Spence. I think if he does consider trying to get back in the ring, who knows? You know what I mean? And that being said, yeah, I kind of like went through that whole thing with the zone part, man. I just yeah, that was just a crazy situation, and that goes off the back of a couple of situations with actually the zone itself that people are still like having a little bit of an issue with. So you do have that. But with that being said, like you still have what is it? Ah, yeah. Canelo. Where will Canelo be? um, last week in the last podcast, I was talking about the whole little situation with Canelo Alvarez. Did have an extensive discussion about that. Um, and the thing about it was at the time, the reports were out that he kind of like didn't come to an agreement with Premier Boxing Champions as to what his next fight was going to be. But the thing was is that the main thing that was taken out of it was that Canelo had left Premier Boxing Champions or left Heyman Boxing. It's Heyman Boxing, not Premier Boxing Champions. Once again, y'all, even though you put up PBC and all that type of stuff, Premier Boxing Champions is like a presentation of sorts. It's like, SmackDown or something like that. It's not a promotional company. Like Heyman Boxing is a managerial company. You have promotions like, of course, Tom Brown Promotions. Years ago, used to be Luda Bella there that was, doing events there while Premier Boxing Champions had their presentations on television networks. But, they still, have the whole thing where they're able to list fighters and they have a website and all that type of stuff. But it's basically Heyman Boxing, right? But back to the thing with Canelo, we had the report out that it was a case of Jaime Munguia being able to agree to a certain price or a certain purse that David Benavidez was not able to agree to. And that's why we had most of those reports saying that Canelo Alvarez would be facing Jaime Munguia next instead of David Benavidez. And so now it's like, okay, where's it going to be on? Some folks thought it was going to be on this zone. A particular person of note was really, really sure that it was going to be on the zone. Well, we are not 100% sure yet. We're not 100% sure yet. But I'm going to say this. We're probably a few weeks out or a couple weeks out of really knowing what's going to be the deal. Folks, there's going to be a fight. There's going to be a fight. Like you don't have, all the stuff that's going on surrounding it. You don't have the Box Fan Expo that takes place at the convention center, Las Vegas Convention Center around it. They already booked, people be part of that, Box Fan Expo. They're gonna have a fight card over there. It's just a matter of who Canelo's going to fight and what's it going to be under. And we've had people talk about it. We've had Eddie Hearn talk about it. We've had, I think, Oscar De La Hoya talk about it. But hey, we don't know for sure yet. So, I mean, I'm just saying, after what happened this week, you know what? Let's just chill out and wait until we get what we get from Canelo. Once Canelo posts, then you'll know for sure. You know what I'm saying? You'll know for sure. Once Canelo posts, then we'll know what the actual fight's going to be and all the other details. So that's that. With that being said, one of the other potential opponents for Canelo Alvarez was Terence Crawford, undisputed former undisputed welterweight champion. Now Terence Crawford is kind of like looking at okay, who would be out there as potential opponent? Not sure. Might talk about that a little bit. Wanted to get my guy in, able to join in here on this late podcast. I got the chef is in the building, brother Terrell. What's going on, chef?
Hey, what's up, JR? I'm glad that I was able to catch a late show. Being a full-time dad is no easy joke and no easy feat, and leaves little time for boxing at times. But we're here. We're here.
Oh man. Yo, yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. But like I said, talking boxing, man. I'll like if you had any thoughts of what's been going on in the boxing world, man. Like what do you want to like talk or react to, man? Because I've had a few topics that I've talked about. There might be one more that I'll touch on when it comes to Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. But yeah, the whole thing with Canelo, you got, Terence Crawford, saying that he ain't interested in a few certain fighters. What do you think about what's been going on?
Well, first of all, I want to just commend you for being a true professional of the sport. And I mean that in every sense of the word, in your coverage of boxing and in the continuity of your coverage. It's just wall to wall, seeking out whether you're going to fights, interviews, things like that. Just was wall to wall coverage and surrounds us in boxing. So I appreciate that because even when I've been able to get on lately, right? But I definitely enjoy the midweek reports, even the Sunday shows. I get to go back and watch those as I'm driving work, things like that. So I definitely get to stay involved, even though I'm not present in the podcast and things like that. So thank you for that, everything. But I think the biggest news in the last few weeks is definitely was the Canelo news. After now the PBC the 3-fight deal with PBC, I was just kind of didn't expect that. I mean, I didn't expect that at all. All right, and I think when you look at it now, for obvious reasons, Baby Charlo laid down a goose egg in this fight, and pretty much spoiled that possibly was Big Brother. And I didn't think that would. I didn't think that would actually happen, but it did, right? Because even though they're two separate fighters, but they're still birds of a feather in that regard. So basically, he spoils the salad for his brother. But I mean, it's, at the same time, Big Brother didn't do himself any favors either with that performance he had against Benavidez's little brother like that. So
yeah, or older brother, yeah.
But I mean, when you kind of fast forward now, we still don't know what Canelo's going to do. I mean, the thing about it looks like it's going to be possibly a Munguia or Berlanga. And with Berlanga, I think he reported that who was the WBA made him mandatory to Morel, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, but what's funny, despite that, Canelo can pick and choose who he wants. So if he wants to fight Berlanga, then he can fight Berlanga. That would happen, and we would be we'd be forced to get that. So I don't think it would happen. And it even goes back to Canelo's press conference a month ago when he made the announcement. He says his next fight will be against an American fighter. What the hell does that mean? But when you look at that now, that was kind of foreshadowing. Well, I mean, in a sense, what might happen with the PBC stuff. But I mean, even with PBC, just in short, we know they got the fight coming up on their first card with Amazon with a man Keith Thurman and yeah. So I mean, but after that, they need to continue to make statement fights, right? Because I'm sure that Amazon doesn't want to be just a regular regular less than 50 fights on the network. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, why do we even sign you guys up? It was going to give us regular fights that we know who's going to win. Everything. So, but even just jumping over to the Ryan Garcia Haney Promotions. Once again, this is why I love boxing. This all the shit talking, the posturing. And did you see the video from on the face off for the last face off that they did when Haney's just in there running his mouth and stuff like that, and Ryan just in there nice, composed. I was thinking he looked dude up and down like he was like
yeah, I don't know, man. That one was completely different than the New York press conference. For me, I thought the one from New York looked like it was structured better, right? Mm-hmm. And that you seen both of them be like they conducted things better, off of that. Particularly in Ryan Garcia's side, because the one in Los Angeles, that's where you got the whole thing in reference to where like some people felt like this guy NL here, he was like he had like something going on, they felt like Mario Lopez had something going on as well. I don't know why he was there in the back. And then you had the whole comment from Ryan Garcia's dad, responding to Bill Haney, which was kind of out of line in a sense, because you kind of like see with the delivery of how he said it, it was like that was like built in him or something. Hey man, I don't know, man. Something was up, but yeah, going off of that press conference, soon after that, you had the whole thing that blew up the internet and boxing, where the whole little training session video with Devin Haney and Tank Davis got released.
And but, I don't know why people are so high on that, because like Haney was 17. Tank is 5 years older. So what? Yeah,
that was one, and then two, it was that there was more stuff that was going on after that, and number three, like Tank was like coming off of like just like he was coming off the plane or something like that. Like he came out the plane and went in and just went right in there and was training Devin Haney while Devin Haney had been in for a while. But the other thing too was it's just a sparring session. That's the thing about it. It's a sparring session. One, that's number one. Number two, how many years ago was that?
Exactly.
How many years ago was that? But the crazy thing is, just that training video got so much attention. That just tells me that, what? Tank Davis and Devin Haney got to fight. Tank and Devin, they got to fight. Like, I think this particular fight here between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia is like a measuring stick for Devin Haney to kind of like say, okay, can I make a statement in this fight that says, you know what? There should be no other fight out there that I should even consider than Tank Davis. That's it. Like, no, like, don't even consider Teofimo Lopez. Don't even consider, like if Rolly Romero even survives anything like that, or Subriel Matias with the IBF belt. Don't even consider those. Like, if you want to have that event to stand out, you go ahead, you take care of business against Ryan Garcia at the Barclays Center, stop him, and then you say, you know what, I'm ready for a fight with Tank Davis. And if it becomes really successful, then you'll see. Question. Good question with this one. Good question. Tank and Shakur. Now, there's nothing that can happen with Haney. That's the next one up. Shakur Stevenson has one more fight on the top rank, and that's going to likely happen by the summer. After that, they should go ahead and let him do his thing and release him or whatever it is, and then they could have that fight between Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis. You're gonna have Tank Davis and Frank Martin in the summer. You have Shakur Stevenson in the title defense also in the summer. Hopefully against Raymond Ford, but I'm not also sure about that. But Shakur gets through that, wins. Tank Davis gets to the fight with Frank Martin, and yeah, let's have Tank versus Shakur, and that'll be a super fight there at 135. But the thing about it is that Tank has said on at least a couple of occasions that he wanted to fight Shakur and Devin Haney, at least by the time before his career is done, that he wanted to fight both of those guys. So I feel like we're going to see those fights, but it's just a matter of when those fights are going to take place. At least with the Tank versus Shakur fight, I say it could happen by the end of this year. Depends on what happens with Shakur Stevenson's contract with Top Rank. Now I've had another guy on here that said like it won't happen until 2025, but I'm not banking on that. You know what I'm saying? Not really banking on that. Well, actually, I forgot to like reach out to him to see if he go on, but there was that, man. What do you think about that? Those potential matchups, though, Terrell?
I mean, once again, I'm a big proponent of Tank fighting Haney, but the likelihood of that fight happening, I just don't see it. And just look at put this. Say for example that Tank does get by Frank Martin, and Haney does get by Garcia. What way they're going to fight at? That's going to be the biggest sticker point right there. And of course, it's a Vegas fight. We know that it has to be in Vegas in regard. But once again, with Haney already at 140, already got his belt there, already, and furthermore established himself at 140, and even has already mentioned moving up to 147. And look at the fact that his last fight on Fight Night, he came in at 160. Tank is going to try to negotiate the hell out of that deal in order to get Haney into the ring. And when you're the A side too, right? And put like this: does Haney need Tank? Ask yourself that. Does Haney need Tank at this point? No,
it's a good question.
He doesn't need him as far as financial or even legacy, because at this point now Haney has probably accomplished more in his career that Tank did at the same time. I think that would be fair to say. I think that'd be very fair to say. So in a sense, Haney doesn't need Tank. But I mean, and on the flip side, you can say that Tank doesn't need Haney. You can say that too. There's plenty of business that can go on at 135 for Tank. But once again, back when all these guys were at 135, Haney, Shakur, Tank, and even Garcia, we said, "Oh, these guys will be fighting each other for years to come." And that was what, 3 years ago, and we finally getting one of these fights. Finally getting one, right? And you would think that as we get one fight from those four, it will lead to more fights. But the reality of it, the reality is that Haney Tank, I don't see it as much as I want it. I don't see it because there's going to be so much stuff to get negotiated, and that's going to make somebody step away from the table. So,
and then you also have this big point here, and L says, "Hey, Devin can't make 35, and Tank said he's not going to 140." Had his run at 135, and he was able to win the undisputed title, defend it twice, once against Kambosos, and then once against Lomachenko, and got that win. And after that fight with Lomachenko, he moved up to 140, and then his fight at 140 pounds against Regis Prograis, he almost was barely at 140 pounds, rehydrated to what, like 170. So, like he'll have this other defense against Ryan Garcia, where he probably will have to come down again to 140 and make this defense. But looks like he's just making a path to have those defenses at 140. Maybe he'll have a unification bout, against against Teofimo Lopez or whoever, and then after that, who knows what's next there for Devin Haney. But like you said, he's building a legacy of his own and building a path of his own by taking the fights that kind of like, build his record and build a resume. You know, like I said, being the undisputed lightweight champion, moving up to 40 and being the WBC champion. Then he'll have this fight against Ryan Garcia, which could really shape the next part of his career, and how he'll be able to be viewed as, not just a, fighter with a legacy, but a star or a superstar. So we'll have to see. Juice is disagreeing. He says it'll happen. It's the biggest fight in boxing.
Why? I mean, once it's a hot fight that all of your hardcore people want. But once again, Haney does what motivation does Haney need to go back down to 135? What?
I'll put it this way, right? Some people could pose it as the biggest fight in boxing, right? But last year we supposedly had the biggest fight in boxing, and it was supposed to be Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. But we've seen the results of that, of how many people were actually interested in that fight in comparison to Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. And that was a whole different animal. And the thing about it is that with Tank and Ryan, the way that they approached that fight, where they ended up getting a whole lot of, back-end money for that, in comparison to Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, where they asked for a good amount up front and really couldn't get much off the bat for that. So for this one, for Tank and Haney, especially with the last conversation I had with one guy that's one reporter here, of course, Brother Joe, he says that now you have Tank now asking for a lot. After his fight with Ryan Garcia, looks like he's asking for a lot. I have to follow up with that, but y'all know where to go. At least some people say they know where to go in reference to what's going on with Tank Davis. But I'm gonna just have what that person said, and then you folks, if y'all want to, y'all could go elsewhere and see what you get. As far as like what it takes for Tank Davis to get in the ring nowadays. Because after that fight with Ryan Garcia, when you have a lot of success when it comes to financials, that kind of changes things as far as like what you're going to be asking for from that point forward. So definitely have to take that into account.
Even on that same note right there, right? What is the cost of the upcoming pay-per-view for Sue Thurman? Have they announced that yet? The cost?
And I didn't even confirm that. I think some folks thought it was going to be like $67.99 or whatever it is, on top of the whole thing with it being on Amazon Prime. So they haven't.
Why
like they haven't really seen it. So
go ahead.
No, you got it. Because I'm gonna see if I can find something within the joint with Amazon Prime.
Yeah, because back in December, I think when we were talking a lot about the upcoming PBC deal with Amazon, we kind of said that the price tags for these boxing fights might be leveled off some, right? And if you got Tank come up to fight with Garcia, he's certainly one of the faces of boxing. I would admit that, definitely. People are always excited to hear about Tank fight. He does have some crossover, and everything. But at the same time, like you just mentioned, he's going to want more money. But once again, with this new model and new deal with Amazon, it's that type of money that's going to be asked for out there. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I was asking if the price tag for the upcoming pay-per-view has been set yet. Because that's going to be kind of like, in a sense, a benchmark in that regard. But even on the Thurman Zoo card, it's a good card. It's a great card on top of that. So I'm not sure how much each fighter is making, things like that. But once again, in order to go to a new network like they are, they would have to give us a great product as far as great fights, not just one top level fight. So it's only so much money to go
Yeah,
around.
yeah, that is true. Only so much money to go around, and thing about it is that at least with this particular card, they tried to you know build it up to be pretty good. You're gonna have that Eastside Cruz, Rolly Romero on there. You're gonna have the Sebastian Fedora, Sergey Boruchuk fight on there. So they're trying to build this card to have some good action packed fights. But it's just will it be how people are kind of like geared towards more being interested in the main event than the total card itself. So we'll see. Shout out to Juice here. He says Tank deserves it. He had the biggest pay-per-view last year. He just has to show he wants the most desired matchups. Like he's been a draw. I mean, folks have kind of like labeled him of sorts as like the A side. He's been able to draw big crowds, whether it's in Las Vegas or Los Angeles or Atlanta or DC or Brooklyn, and then we'll see what happens here with this next fight. So he's been able to build those big cards and big gates and everything like that, and they say supposedly that he'll be part of a really big fight card in the summer, because there's been a rumor of sorts that he could have Tank Davis headline the bout, and that David Benavidez would be involved in the co-feature, which would be really interesting. Given that had the report of David Benavidez, facing Alexander Kovacic for the interim WBC light heavyweight title. So we'll see. But with that being said, if that's to be part of the fight card with Tank versus, as reportedly Frank Martin, that would be a huge event, regardless of where it's going to be. So we got to see how that goes. Tank Haney would outsell Spence Crawford by a long shot. Yeah, and that was the other thing there with Terence Crawford too, man, was that I'll try to see if I could close this out here in a few. That with Terence Crawford, he had the fight with Errol Spence, and not only was it not as successful as folks thought it would have been, but it ended up being a little bit of a financial hit of sorts. And of course, Crawford has had that story of being a guy that has asked for a lot, so we'll see, and because of that, if he's not the draw that people think that he should be, as far as like what he's asking for, then that makes fights be difficult to make. Whether it's against even if it was a rematch with Errol Spence, like, would it make financial sense for all parties? I don't know. And some folks have thrown out potential fights for him. Joan Bucinis, they had already shot that fight down. Fight with Erickson Lubin, I think it was, that's kind of been shot down. And I think it was like one other fight there, 154, that wasn't Tim Tszyu, that kind of like was not a good one for him, So it's a tough situation there for Crawford, because you want to see him in the ring. He's the number one pound for pound fighter and all of that stuff and whatnot. But if people aren't like in a demand to see him regardless of the opponent, then it'll be tough to like see him in the ring like more than one time in a year. Like, he only fought that one time last year. So you can't have someone like a Terence Crawford fighting just once a year on a regular. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's just a total shame. Total shame.
Yeah, real shame. So, I'd like to see also what would be next for Terence Crawford. But the thing about it is, the bottom line is they got to be able to put him in the ring, and if they can't like the thing with Terence Crawford is if they say that he's a superstar and they did what they did in order to build him up to the point where he had that great performance against Errol Spence last year, and then right after that they moved on that momentum to get him more exposure, that should have driven him to be in demand to fight not just Errol Spence but anybody. But at least to me, it would be like, okay, you seen the push for him to fight Boots Ennis, but that kind of like was shot down. You see him say, hey, maybe a fight with Jamal Charlo, but Jamal Charlo is now he was an undisputed champion 154. Now he is not a champion. He doesn't have any belts, none of them. So a fight with Crawford and Jamal Charlo now, like what's the selling point? We don't know what the selling point would be. It would be like bad blood, but that's like no different than Jamal Charlo versus Caleb Plant. Like we've seen what happened with Caleb Plant and Jamal Charlo, and folks like them in that particular fight. But outside of that, like what is the end game for that? So now it's like if you can't really get him in the ring against Jamal Charlo, can't get him in the ring against Bruce Ennis, can't get him in the ring against Eric Subin, and who are you gonna get him in there with?
Well, as you paint that picture so eloquently, at some point in time, the team is going to have to come together. Like, yo, it's coming up on a year without a fight, and if that does happen, by the time they do announce a fight, it's going to be over a year, and that's a shame for someone for the versus the top pound fighter. So, but they're going to basically have to say, you know what, Spence not going to happen. He's still healing up, things like that. Not Baby Charlo, not Ennis. At some point, it's got to be somebody.
Somebody.
It's got to be somebody. Because Crawford has another 2-3 good fights left in him, right? But this inactivity kills people and kills the boxing fan and kills the momentum that you guys have made from your Spence win. At this point now, that Spence win is aging pretty fast. It's aging pretty fast.
Yeah. And, while, Terence Crawford is, trying to keep himself sharp, keeping himself in shape, staying in the gym, it's one thing to, kind of like stay in the gym, but it's different than, being in the ring and actually fighting. You got to be able to have as many fights as possible, and have fight fans and boxing fans and fans in general be able to see you. So we'll have to see about that. And then I was saying like Canelo and Berlangas, but I don't know, man. Like I said earlier, as of right now, I have no idea who Canelo is fighting on Saturday, May 4th, 2024. And I said like, a couple of weeks ago, like Berlangas really be his opponent. Juice said, yeah, Tank versus Martin and Benavidez versus Gabasic be the most violent card in boxing in 2024. it would be. And they probably would be able to fit in a couple of good fights in there too. Like, what if we had a rematch between Raul Valenzuela and Edwin De Los Santos on that card? We could add that on there too. We see what happened in that first fight between those two, that Edwin De Los Santos was able to win there by knockout. So we'll see.
So what if Canelo fought a fighter that has a nappy head?
Oh my God. Oh man.
Only in boxing, man. Only in boxing.
Yeah, only in boxing. Yeah. Yeah, Lance, man. I'm here on the late tip a little bit here, talking to boxing and whatnot. You'll be able to catch the replay where I broke down the fight cards of what happened at Turning Stone Resort in Verona, New York, and then the whole little thing that happened there in Puerto Rico. That, like I say, that's one of the craziest situations out there, man. $1.31 million gate in Puerto Rico, and they have to give it all back. Yeah, his head is set right now, and he be on some other stuff. He was chilling out. He was out there in Puerto Rico, and the WBO like gave him a whole little ceremony or whatever it is out there in Puerto Rico. So he's been doing good there. But we gotta see him in a ring, and we just don't know who his opponent's going to be. I just don't see a fight with Crawford and Canelo happening, um, which is interesting because we talked about that some years ago with Canelo Alvarez when he initially said he was going to be with PBC. That folks were saying that his plan was going to be Jamal Charlo, Jermell Charlo, and Errol Spence. Like none of the guys, like no guys within the super middleweight division. After winning the super middleweight, under the super middleweight titles, he was just gonna have events with guys that just say, okay, maybe I get the most money, just for events like that instead of having a bout against David Benavidez or having a bout against David Morrell Jr. or somebody like that. Like Canelo wasn't really interested in all that.
Let
So
me ask you a two-part question real quick. First of
all
all,
right.
what is the real reason in your sense that Canelo has not fought Benavidez yet? And part number two, is there any truth in that tweet by Coppinger about the fact that Benavidez wanted what's that? I forgot. It was a crazy split. Basically, he offered Canelo the majority of the split.
Okay.
And so he only take $5 million.
The thing about the money for Benavidez, apparently I'm supposed to look more into that and speak with somebody in reference to that. I'll follow up on that and see if I can get that person on because they're the ones that really talk about who Benavidez says this is what I want for this fight, or this is what I want for Canelo. And so, as of right now, we're hearing is from David Benavidez and what was it, Samson Lukowitz, that Benavidez was okay with just $5 million and being cool with $5 million, and he'll be able to fight Canelo for that $5 million. From what I've heard, I'm not all too sure about that. So I got to verify that. So that's why I'm contacting to see if I can contact somebody in reference to that because they actually deal with the financials on who David Benavidez fights and how much he, asks for these particular fights. So I'm going to do that. Now, the thing with Canelo actually wanting to fight David Benavidez. Actually, to me, he should fight David Benavidez because that actually might be the biggest fight in boxing right now. I feel like that is if you think about any potential fight or any fight that fight fans would like to see at this point, it's Canelo versus Benavidez over, Canelo versus a Terence Crawford, over a Terence Crawford versus a Jerome Boots, and it's over, even as we mentioned earlier, Tank Davis versus Devin Haney. I feel like Canelo versus David Benavidez is the biggest fight in boxing right now. Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, what would it take for that particular fight to take place? I'm not all too sure. And the thing with Canelo Alvarez is I do not know what his direction is at this particular point because I feel like that fight that he had with Dimitri Bivol did something because it almost seemed like he was like at a point where, yeah, he could go up to 175, but there's certain fighters at 175 that he just can't beat. Yeah, he was able to do what he did against Sergey Kovalev, but some people felt like Kovalev was at a certain point in his career where, yeah, Canelo could go up there and get him. But now here with with you know, well, with the loss to Bivol, and now you have the whole thing there with also Beterbiev that's out there 175, and then the whole thing with of course with David Benavidez, they're 168. Like these are big, big guys, so to speak. Benavidez is, he comes down to 168. You got David Morrell Jr. that's also out there, like these guys are different animals, in comparison to what he's been able to do and what he's been able to use. This is still the same Canelo Alvarez that came up from 154 pounds to get these titles at 160, at 168, and then the one title at 175. So he's like, you know what? Am I really out there to, compete against these type of guys? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, just that the Bivol fight showed that Canelo can not only get beat, but in a sense get beat up. And I think it would be very fair to say that Benavidez is a more offensively talented fighter.
Oh man.
So
all right, I'm gonna do this, man. I'm gonna have a little bit more on the show here because I was just about to sign off, but I'm gonna think of I think I might have to have a little bit of a segment here. Hold on, let me because I think you missed it. Well, I'm gonna get my guy on here. Hopefully, you don't go on a whole little tirade or whatnot, so to speak. But I'm gonna see if he could be on here for a few minutes. I think I was able to send him a link to see if he could get on for a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna go on for 10 more minutes because I got something. I'm gonna try to get a few things done and close out for the night. But I wanted to see if I can get my guy on here to talk for a little bit. But yeah, the thing, because a couple of the topics that I talked about here over the past few minutes, he's had a few thoughts on it too. So I wanted to see if I could follow up with him on those things. But yeah, all right, he's on now, man. Big ups for him to join on here for a little bit. Y'all know him. It's Zoe in the building. IET representing.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm back. Hey, yo, Raymond, I'm from Jersey. I ride with Jersey hard,
Right.
but that was some nonsense. That Raymond Ford shit was some nonsense, bro.
Oh man,
I ride with Jersey. I ride with my
down with what the referee did.
You said what?
You ain't down with what the referee did. Like he called that fight with 7 seconds.
Man, that was a good old Chavez versus Meldrick Taylor right there, man. That joke had me. I'm like, yo, because I think the crazy thing too, because I was telling people this, I'm like, man, listen to the commentary. I know Raymond Ford is not the house fighter, but listen to the commentary, listen to Tim Bradley's talk. What he was saying wasn't match what my eyes were seeing. It was a competitive fight, but I had Ford significantly down, and these guys was telling me a story that he was up. I didn't see that. I had him down 117, 107, 102 at the time of that fallacious stoppage. So I don't know, man. I think they got to run it back.
I pretty much had Kholmatov ahead there going into that, last round. It was pretty much close to like what the two judges had in favor of Kholmatov. I pretty much had the card like that because I felt like Kholmatov was more effective in his offense, while fighting on the back foot early in the fight. Raymond Ford, particularly within rounds 1 through 4, didn't really have that much activity while he was moving forward. And Kholmatov was like really executing very well with his offense while fighting off of his back foot.
Even when Ford even in the rounds when Ford was doing good, like he always would have a moment where he just gave up a big play back to Kholmatov. He never had like sustained. He never had like sustained consistent like scoring like Kholmatov was. Even when Kholmatov got hit with a big punch and Bradley was glazing and shit, going crazy, he still reacted and came back with multiple combinations. So I'm like, I don't know what these people were watching. I don't know what these people
there was
watching.
like, one instance where Kholmatov got caught with a good shot by Ford that had Kholmatov off balance, but he was able to get back into the fight. And then there was, other thing that I mentioned earlier was that, for the first part of the fight, you had Ford coming forward to Kholmatov, but was it as effective as one round when Kholmatov was coming forward and actually executing better at that point before going back to fighting off of his back foot? So that's why I felt like up to that point, Kholmatov was really controlling the pace of that fight and had the better of Raymond Ford. So
And another
going
thing I
into
was
that
worried
round, I feel like it was going to be a Kholmatov fight, and then Ford ended up getting that win.
And I feel like Ford got to get checked on because he got hit a lot behind the head in that fight, man. You feel me? Like, my personal philosophy, if the referee don't call it a rabbit, I count it as a punch. But with that being said, he got hit behind the head a lot in that fight, man.
Yeah, it was
So
wild, man. Wow.
you got to look out for that. But hey, man, even though I didn't agree with it, I thought it was a screw job. Hey, Jersey, stand up, I guess. I guess.
Word. So yeah, you had that win, man. You had Luis Alberto Lopez get a stoppage there. That was like a aesthetically pleasing fight, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But we got you on here, man, and one of the things that we talked about in the past is the thing there with your so-called favorite fighter, Gervonta Tank Davis. But someone mentioned earlier. I was talking about with Tank Davis and talk about the Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia thing that's coming up in April, and how much there's on the line for that particular fight, and how that could build towards, if Devin Haney wins, build towards a potential fight with Tank Davis.
Stop it! There's no Tank and Haney fight. Stop it.
Yeah. So that's the thing about it is, as mentioned, what was it? He said, Dev can't make 35, and Tank said he's not going to 40. So he mentioned another fight that me and you have talked about a lot, Tank versus Shakur. And you said weeks ago or months ago that particular fight ain't happening until 2025.
No, 2026, I said.
Oh, 2026.
Why so long?
Because I don't think Tank would get in the ring with a fighter that risky while his profit is so low. I think there's still more build up to do to his profile to make it worth it. Because I don't think he'll just get in the ring with somebody that's probably going to 12-0 your ass for low money. You feel me? You might as well wait and build this guy up. You might as well wait to see him get the Lomachenko or Navarrete fight in pay-per-view to build a little bit of profile before that fight comes. You just can't do it off that Edwin De La Santo. Who the fuck is going to care about that shit?
But 2026? Jesus.
Yeah, man. Hey, this is boxing. Pretend like you know what sport we follow with, man. You know how this shit works.
I mean, I totally get it, but you can't put Tank in with should come up the De Los Santos win. I get that, but so for one, I hope that Shakur does not resign with Top Rank, so he can call his own cards and build his own brand up, and not be tied down to a promoter like that. Hope that happens.
Cool.
But
That sounds cute. That's not happening. That sounds cute. That's not happening, bro. Look, Shakur's my guy. I'm a Shakur fan, but let's be for real. Build how? Like, bro, the market is dry for you. Like, what's out there? Like, Tank is not gonna fight you. You're too risky for not enough big money. He'll get the same type of pay-per-view buys fighting Shakur that he'll get fighting Frank Martin, except Shakur got a chance to beat you. Why does he do that now? There's no reason to do that now. You feel me? He's gonna do the Frank Martin. There's probably a pay to fight down the line. There's probably he might go up to 140 for to go snatch a WBA belt versus one of those jobbers whoever wins that shit between these two jobbers between Cruz and Rolando. You probably might rematch one of them motherfuckers at 140 and shit to get WBA. He has option to stick around. It's up to Shakur. It's up to Shakur to build it up. Shakur got to find a way to build his name up.
I got something there for you for Tank Davis, right?
Okay.
What if I know that they said that he's not going up to 140, but that WBA situation, like I ain't even gonna mess with what they got going on right now. But What if Tank Davis went up to 140 to have a fight with Gary Antoine Russell? How would you feel about that?
He's not do. I mean, yeah, you know what? He might do that. Russell's still green enough to beat. You know, yeah, he might do that. But would there be a title on the line? I mean,
That's
I can
going to
see.
be the
I,
question.
I mean,
It depends. I think it depends on when that fight happens.
and you know what? You
Because
know what?
I think
I
they
take
should.
that back. I take that back. It doesn't matter because you put that shit in Capital One, that shit gonna sell. They both from the area.
Yeah,
You put that shit in
but
Capital One, that shit gonna
I
sell like
think
hotcakes.
Gary Antoine should angle to try to go in the WBA and try to get that WBA belt by the end of the year. Because regardless of who wins the fight on March 30th, they'll be likely food for Gary Antoine Russell, man.
I mean, both niggas would be food. Yeah, both niggas would be food. But the thing about Russell is just like it seemed like he just stalled completely. His career just completely stalled. Like I'll be forgetting he exists.
Yeah.
I'll be forgetting that guy exists. His career completely stalled. But yeah, with that Shakur thing, I don't see. Yeah, man, with the way Tank been handled, he's not fighting Shakur now, bro. He's not fighting Shakur. He's not fighting Haney ever. And then I wish the Tank fans, like I think I told you before, there's no real fundamental difference between a Tank fan and a Canelo fan. They both are the same kind of weirdos, it's just different races, but they both the same kind of delusional weirdos and shit, dog. Like, bro, that video they leak, which is clearly a edited video, and even the shit that they show us in edited, I do not see the big deal. This nigga wasn't wobbled, he wasn't hurt. I just saw Tank unloaded. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't wobbled. And by all accounts, the shit still ended with Bill Haney walking away with the money. So niggas still got to explain to me how Bill Haney walked away with the money, bro.
Well, that's because you had a continuation of what was going on in the doghouse rules, and it ended
Your boy
up
got beat up, man. That's
rules. But the thing about it is, like, both those guys, Tank and Haney, really ain't. And at the start, they weren't even really talking about the whole sparring session. It just got built up over the past couple of years. So it's just a whole little crazy situation. And like I said before, man, I mean, it's sparring, yo. Like, come on, y'all talk about sparring.
And then another thing, does this fight happen? Is Ryan Garcia? Is this fight happening, man? I'm getting nervous about it.
Some people say it's not gonna happen. Some people say it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the angle of him using all this shit to troll and try. I can see that because Teofimo tricked a lot of people last year going into Josh Taylor like that. But I don't know, man. I think he might be on that A1 Perico. You feel me? I think he might be on that, that Colombian finest, that pure Medellin. Because I don't know, man. That guy got strength.
Hey, man,
that guy strength.
No, man.
And I think he might retire. I think he might retire after Haney. I think Haney gonna beat the dog shit out of him. I think Haney might beat him bad. I know Haney's not known for being a stop.
Some folks. Well, he said at that New York press conference that he was going to retire Ryan Garcia, and then they said that they made that bet if Devin Haney stops Ryan in the first round, and Ryan said he'll retire.
Okay, that's not happening, but it's gonna be a slow. And then not only that, Devin Haney grandma just died. Oh, he gonna beat the shit out of Ryan, dog.
Yeah, man.
It's gonna be, but yeah, I don't know. I just hopped on, so I don't know if y'all talked about this already, but Canelo's a whole out here. And then we gotta start calling out these media members, man. We gotta start calling out these racist media members that's listening to Glacier pushing this shit like truth, and now these niggas trying to backtrack and fix what they said, man. F out of here, bro. Glazed, man. The man don't even have good medical care to get some good teeth that sticks in his mouth when he falls asleep, bro. And niggas listening to him. This shit is crazy, man. Like, yeah, man. Canelo, I guess Canelo versus Jamie Munguia. I don't know who he's fighting in September. I know niggas is trying to get their hype up over this Benavidez shit, but I'm willing to let it go. I think this shit's not happening. I think the
Yeah, I
Benavidez
don't
fight
think
never.
they have. Like I said, I was telling Terrell earlier when he asked me the question about it. I got to follow up with somebody that is kind of like involved with the whole thing with negotiations, and because some of the reports that were out in reference to Benavidez and what he wanted, it doesn't look like it lines up. So we'll have to see on that. So I'm gonna follow up with that. You know what I mean?
I
But yeah,
think, I
that
think
being said, man, what else you got?
I think Bevo. I think crazy prediction. 2025, David Benavidez undisputed light heavyweight champion after he beats Bevo. After Bevo flushes the communist guy radiator.
What?
You heard me. You heard me. Benavidez undisputed light heavyweight champion after he beat Bevo. After Bevo beat the dog shit out of the fucking Russian guy. Y'all going crazy over that slow ass Russian nigga.
Well, I
All
mean,
right.
that sounds sweet, but Bebo will not beat
Nah,
Benavidez. Same time, don't forget that.
easily. And I already put big money. Me. I'll bet still on, right, JR? I'll bet still on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gonna beat the dog shit out. It's gonna be. This is if the way I thought anyway in Fulton. What which I thought about Inu and Fulton, and then I thought about Spence and Bud. Y'all gonna be 100 times more wrong because Retro Beef is not even these guys, bro. Yeah,
But
you guys been falling in love with this power shit too much. He might get stopped. Bevo is gonna stop him. He's that easy to hit. Bevo is gonna stop him. He's gonna beat this guy. He's gonna beat the shit out of him. You guys gonna be shocked.
oh man, I can't wait.
Yo,
I can't wait till June 1st.
Yo,
I
Chad,
can't wait.
this dude took the wrong exit off 95 for real. Come on now.
Nah, man. Yo, listen, man. Listen, he's gonna beat the dog
I can't
shit
wait.
out.
I can't wait.
It's
Oh
like
man, I
and
can't wait.
after and when I come on this show, the first thing I'm gonna say to you guys is respect skills. Stop looking at a nigga and say he hits hard. That's the end all be all. We gotta start
But that's not. Oh no. That is
skills.
not been. That's not Peterbium. Oh no. Oh no. I wish I had one of my guys on here. You know what? I'm gonna see if I could get. I'm gonna get something there with
I watch all the amateur tapes. I
Uso,
watch all the amateur
and I
tapes.
want to
I
get
watched it all.
the
You're
guy
gonna get smoked.
Casual Sport on there,
You're gonna get
and
smoked, man.
we'll break down. We'll break
No,
down
y'all not gonna
fights
break
with.
down shit. Y'all gonna try and jump me. Y'all gonna try and jump me,
No,
and I'm
no,
a Cam Newton.
matter
I'm a
of fact,
Cam Newton, you niggas. That's what's about to happen.
I watched it.
Nah.
My hat won't even move.
I watched this video from Fight Hype about 3 weeks ago. This one brother that did this sparring with Benavidez and told you how subtle he is. He's not just about power. He has subtleties to his game. He has skills. Maybe not the skill of a b-ball, but Benavidez does have skills.
Look, okay. There's a recording on this show of me saying all that about Betcha Beef. I said Betcha Beef is not a total caveman. He do have nuances and skills too. I said that. JL, you can vouch for me. I just said that on your show. With that being said, it's gonna be so embarrassing. It's gonna be so embarrassingly mismatched. Y'all gonna be shocked. Y'all gonna ask yourself, how did I get another big fight wrong again? Not even just tiny wrong, like it was a competitive, like a complete mismatch. Y'all gonna be like, how do I keep doing this? Maybe I should start listening this up.
Oh man,
That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be one of the. Maybe I should start listening to Zoe moments. Maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. When there was big fights. Let me not get too hyped because one of my predictions was wrong because somebody was gassed out from beating his wife. So that shit fucked up my prediction. But other than that, I'm always right on these shits.
Hold on. He said, "Well, it's not anyone in 6 years. He can't stop the man. His wife divorced him for." Oh no!
Yeah, man. And then another thing is, I rock with Bud. This is another thing I gotta get off my chest. I rock with Bud. You know that. I like Bud. Fight Boots, my nigga. I'm looking at you crazy, nigga. Fight Boots, my nigga. You looking crazy, my nigga. You over here playing, my nigga. Like Boots is right here. You talk about legacy. Boots is right here, my nigga. Like you my dog. I rock with you. I was one of the people saying you was gonna do what you was gonna do to Spence. I was one of those niggas. You feel me? But right now, You got to handle your business. You talk about this Tim Tszyu. Nobody's gonna convince me that this Tim Tszyu is some mega event. Why? How? In what way? What makes Tim Tszyu a mega event? What makes that a bigger fight than fighting Boots? What's so big about Tim Tszyu's name? Tell me. What's so big about Tim Tszyu? I keep hearing these people talk about Tim Tszyu's name, bring all this money in.
I don't see what the craze is with Tim Tszyu. I don't. I don't.
Yeah, I don't, bro. I don't, nigga. If Keith Thurman was more active, I'll pick Keith. It just Keith showed me some bull. Like, don't get me wrong, Maurice Barrios still sucks. But the fact that you let Maurice Barrios win 2 rounds against you make me look at Keith Thurman the wrong way, because he was making a lot of fundamental mistakes with his footwork, especially when he was throwing the jab. You feel me? He kept on falling in. So if he doesn't correct that mistake, Tim Tszyu's gonna eat him for breakfast on the inside and break him down to the body. If he goes back to Ventures Keith Thurman could beat this guy. I don't know why people looking at Tim Tszyu, they looking at this shit like, oh my God, this man fucking mad regular.
He is. Nothing special about him.
He's mad regular. He's the most regular shit.
No special effects.
Yeah. He's the most regular shit. And then the basics are not even that crazy. The basics is not like, it's not like he's so fundamentally sound like, oh my God, he's something. This nigga like, wow. Like I don't get it.
We didn't really see nothing in this fight against Brian Mendoza that like stood out and like said, wow, like it was more about him being able to, get through or walk through the punches, majority of the punches from Brian Mendoza, and Mendoza kind of like slowing down midway through the fight, because in those first few rounds, you seen Brian Mendoza like tagging him, moving on to the side and getting away from the line and all that type of stuff. But then he slowed down and it was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? But it's like nothing that.
I hate Charlo. I hate Charlo, but I don't hate Charlo enough to pretend that Tim Tszyu would have beat him. Charlo would have beat the dog shit out of Tim Tszyu, bro. And I mean, bro, like I feel like if Bud elects to take Tim Tszyu over Boots, I gotta call out a duck, man. I gotta call out a cherry pick, man. I got to. I gotta be consistent, man. I can't be like these other niggas. I gotta keep it. That's a cherry pick, man.
Oh man.
Tim Tszyu, man, Tim Tszyu fucking trash. Like, I mean, he's not trash.
Like, well, I tell you, I think after some time we'll know for sure in reference to what Terence Crawford's movements are going to be, because one way or another, they're gonna have to make a decision about the other belts. It's going to be similar to Jermell Charlo, Jermell Charlo.
Yeah, you're not Canelo. You're not Canelo. You're not Canelo. You don't get no fucking free hold on to the belt for as long as I get clause, bro. You a regular black person. You wouldn't take that shit from me.
Well, the only one he could pretty much hold on to is the WBO, since they had like special ceremonies for him and all that type of stuff. So
he's a super, right? He's a super.
Yeah, he's a super champion. Yeah, but. He could hold on to that belt for a little while if he wants to.
I'm not gonna lie. If Terence Crawford end up doing a special fight with Teofimo, I'll be sick to my stomach too, bro. I'll look at him so crazy. I'll be disappointed. Man, I hope we get if Canelo's not willing to fight Benavidez, because I gotta get this out. Canelo's such a hoe, bro. Like this, so he wanted. Listen, he wanted woman beater Charlo, then he wanted drunk Charlo, and after that he wanted Spence. He wanted Spence for his third fight, but then you sitting here saying Bud is too small, but you can't fight the nigga Bud. Oh my God, bro, he a whole out here, bro. Like how you rep this nigga? How did people like proudly be in the streets like, yeah, Team Canelo? How you do that?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
He wanted to fight Spence, bro. There's not enough people making a big deal that his third fight that he wanted was Spence. Why are we not making a big deal out of this? He just said, I'm not fighting Bud, he's too small. But you literally gonna fight the last person Bud just destroyed.
Because as I mentioned earlier, he was in there for quote unquote events. He wasn't in there for the fights. That's why I mentioned he didn't have any interest in David Benavidez. He didn't have any interest in fight like a David Morrell Jr. He didn't have like much of an interest at all of fighting those guys at 168. But he wanted to fight guys that were coming up from 154, 160, and 147. Like, I mean, that's what Canelo was doing here at this point, and I felt like it was something where when he fought your boy Dimitri Bivol, he kind of had a little
They
thought
beat the
that,
risk
hey,
out of him. Bevo beat the risk out of him.
yeah, like I think Beaver beat the risk out of him, or something like you said. I don't
Yeah.
know, man.
Yeah. Okay,
But
I'm gonna give an example. Like what happened to Canelo is what happened to. I might offend some people, but you already know I hate this nigga with a passion. He's one of the all-time greats. I'm not gonna take anything for his skill, but he's a whole ass nigga. So I'm gonna say it. What Canelo did, what Bevo did to Canelo, is what Thomas Hearns did to Sugar Ray Leonard. After that the first Thomas Hearns fight, Sugar Ray Leonard made a silent agreement, no more tough fights. I'm going to retire, I'm going to make up injuries, and I'm going to avoid niggas. I'm going to fight niggas in catch weights. I'm going to wait till niggas is old. And that's what Canelo did. That's what Bevo did to Canelo. What Thomas Hearns did to fucking Sugar Ray Leonard. Had this nigga lying, I got a life-ending eye surgery, and then fight Bruce Finch. Nigga, fuck you soft-ass nigga. And that's what Canelo's doing right now, nigga.
Well, yeah, like you said before you got on, we said Bevo definitely showed the blueprint that Canelo can be beat. Not only can be beat, but beat up. And we know that's what we said earlier that Benavidez is a more talented offensive fighter than Bevo. So if Canelo was to fight Benavidez, it's going to be a worse ass. Definitely.
What hurts me? What hurts me about the whole Canelo thing is like, bro, Canelo's a good, solid fighter. What kills me is like the promotion, the dubious decisions created something that he wasn't, bro. Like, you know how different we'll look at him if Austin Trout beats him, which he probably did. You feel me? You know how different we look at him if Austin Trout beats him, if fucking Laura beats him. And I'm only mentioning niggas that I think actually, okay, not Laura. I didn't think Laura won the fight, but we're close enough. You feel me? If Laura beats him, Trout beats him, 2 Triple G, that's 4 losses on top of the Floyd loss, and that's 6 losses. This is a totally different nigga we looking at. You feel me? Like he's not what niggas think, bro. He's good. He's not trash. He ain't bum, but he's just alright. You feel me? He's alright.
Like,
that's what it is.
But like you can't like really like put him up there as like an all-time great, pretty much. Or like some folks will try to do him once he has his career done. So that's that. But I gotta close out, man. It's getting close to midnight and all that type of stuff, man. I'm gonna have to I guess continue the conversation on a midweek report or whatever it is, or maybe have something special on Monday or Tuesday there. But big ups for Terrell and Zoe jumping in here on this conversation for the Boxing Source podcast on March 3rd, 2024. And we'll get back at it. Like I said, every Sunday, man, we be at it. But I don't know, maybe I should do more of these late night type of things, man.
Late nights, man. So I can talk. So I could, I could get some little liquor in my system, so I could really talk about how much I hate liquor.
Talk your shit, man. Talk your shit.
Yeah, man. This man, you see this nigga? Yo, this nigga teeth can't even stand his mouth, bro. He got the worst dentures ever, bro. Like this shit's in the top 5 worst dentures ever, bro. Like his shit, I think George Washington had better shits than him, dog. And that nigga was using Ward. Yo, I hate this. Yo. But yeah, fuck him, fuck Ring IQ, fuck According to Boxing, fuck boxing, Coach Malachi. Help me out. There's some more. Throw some out there if you guys have some.
Oh man, I forgot the list, but you pretty much stayed.
Fuck the Adam brothers. Fuck the Adam brothers. Oh, fuck them too. Them cornball ass niggas. Give me some more names. I'm putting cases on all you niggas.
Oh man, with that said, man, I gotta.
One more thing. I gotta get one more thing. I gotta get one more thing, man. I gotta get one more thing. Man, I gotta get this out. These racist niggas. These niggas is racist, but they want to cancel Lefty for calling Bob Arum his nationality, his ethnicity. They want to cancel Lefty, but all these racist niggas. But man, screw this shit. Fuck these niggas. 3 King boxing, nigga.
We out.
We out.